Hi, I want to share with you what I feel might be the most profound revelation that I've ever had. I had it today and I can feel its power and I feel its truth. And it's really been a big deal to me for the rest of the day as I've been thinking about it. I listen to silence very often, and often we think nothing's happening, but I believe always something's happening, even if the ego doesn't see it. Some days I'll listen for an hour in the morning and an hour at night. Some days I'll hear 2 hours in the morning. Some days I'll get 3, 4 hours of meditation in. And by meditation, I mean I just listen to the now. I just listen to what is, and I just hear what's here. And I start to see through patterns. I start to see through constructs, and I start to see through the illusions that are what I think are Kyle, these kind of false limitations that are there that show up and really feel like the truth. But then when I look at it longer, they start to become softer and transparent, and then they dissolve. And I realize this wasn't my edge. This isn't my limit. That dissolves, and it's this space over here, and it's this all that isness. And today I was meditating and I really heard this voice say to me something that just hit exactly the right way. And that's the only reason you have problems is because you think that you're the child of your parents and you came from your parents, but really you're God's kid. You're a child of God. You aren't just the product of your parents because your parents have egos. And your parents' egos were not only created through their experiences in their life, but from the egos of their parents before. So you might think you're your parents' kid, but in a way, you're your parents' ego's kid if you think that world is the truth. All the patterns of trauma and fear and all the things that they never got to alchemize because they grew up in a much more unconscious time with parents before them from an even more unconscious time. And then we learn these things about ourselves from our parents. They teach us this is what you are, and it includes all of their limitations and all of their fears and all of their doubts and all of their traumas and all of the problems that happened to them from their childhood. And so then we carry this software. Now, imagine if a computer was still carrying Windows 95, right? But let's make it the software from when you were born, right? For me, it'd be Windows 77. And here I am, a computer that could self update, but it's got all this old software. And we have completely normalized in the world that our parents are our parents. We came from our parents, but we also learned all of their fears and survival mechanisms and everything else and said, that's me. And it's not. The sky's the limit when you get your God's kid. But if you think that you are what you learned from your parents, or you believe that you didn't like how your parents taught you, or what you learned from your parents, or what you became from your parents, so you rejected them. So now you're still kind of not wanting to be your parents. So you're kind of think you're pushing them away, but you're still grabbing that construct and being the other side of it, some type of rejection. Look how much I'm not my dad. Look how much I'm not my mom. And you are also creating a space where you still believe, in a way, you are your parents' kid. And it is just a normal thing in the world to just say, my parents, my parents. And this is why I'm like this because of my parents. And the second we say, this is why I'm like this because of my parents, we are stuck in the past and we are stuck in the limitation. And there's been so much amazing work about healing patterns. But our problem is we still believe after that we're our parents' kids. So we're like staying the software, trying to purge the software. You're still being Windows 95 while you're trying to get rid of the patterns within Windows 95. But what hasn't happened is the understanding that you're really this constant, ongoing, expansive, infinite possibility. And I find the more that I don't live within the habits or the story of being my parents' kid, and instead listen deeply in my meditation and watch God take me so far beyond anything that I ever thought I was capable of and heal and purge the old software. This is the most profound revelation for me that I've ever had, that I am God's kid. I'm grateful for my parents and that I came from them, but they had their patterns and they had their parents' patterns, and we're talking their parents' patterns from the Great Depression. You go back farther and farther, we're in slavery, and all of those patterns are still included in what we believe we are. And even the part of you that goes, I'm not going to be like my parents, or the part of you that goes, I'm going to expand past what I learned, you're still grabbing onto any type of belief that you are their kid. And it almost has this feeling of profound possibility meets loneliness, meets everything, to just sit with the limitlessness of I'm none of those constructs. And it just hit so hard today. And I even felt like this will be a thing I'll get crap for. This will be a thing that, like, it's just so obviously the truth. Yet at the same time, it's not been normalized in the world. And it feels like that could be a major part of a dimensional shift. Like maybe in third density, we really made it normalized to be our parents' kid. But in a higher density, in fifth dimension, fourth density, you are undone from these constructs and the old softwares in your body that you thought you were. And I just noticed how much the me that's God's kid would do a lot of things that were out of the world of anything I ever learned in my childhood or anything I ever was within those constraints growing up. And it's like, no, God's kid is really powerful, is really strong, is a major protector, is a power. But also there's so many things about what me being God's kid has that I don't understand from here. In other words, I really believe the way God works is follow me moment to moment. It does not give you linear timelines other than keep listening to God and keep choosing God things, the highest me things over the old habits. And a lot of times people say, when I say stuff like that, well, it's fine to watch a little, TV or flip through social, whatever, that's fine. But I promise you, it's a pattern that wants to do all these things because they keep you in the familiar, small, separate self that keeps you from having to look past these boundaries. And you have this opportunity today to go, no, I'm on this planet to know what the hell I am. And I'm on this planet to know what the hell I am. And I had opportunities tonight to do old egoic things that the pattern would do. And instead, I just, after hearing this, just sat with myself and had another amazing hour of meditation and watched as more patterns showed up. And I can feel so much a combination of like, I can feel the true mourning of the entire idea that I thought Kyle Cease was. And I can see the constructs in the thank you and thank you to my parents, but they don't have to have the burden of still being the ones that raised me from this age forward. Like there at one point is a limitation to how much I can learn from that or recycle that same teaching or keep being within those limitations. And I can finally today say thank you, goodbye on a whole new level and ask myself, what am I beyond that? And start talking to God like it's my parents and go, what do you have for me? What do you want me to do? What are you going to do through me? What am I capable of? What do I need to hear? What are you purging from my body? What am I no longer? And I know that I'm God's kid. And I'm sure that there's been some talk of that somewhere, sometimes every once in a while, but it has not at all been a construct or an idea that I've ever really heard this way. That you are all, we're a child of God. We don't have to stay within the small construct of your parents' fears and abuse and trauma and pain and abandonment and codependency. You are so much more than that. You are profound. You are infinite and you are capable of so much more. And you do not have to live within those limitations anymore. And I can feel that that's the truth because I could actually feel the sadness in a good way kicking up. I could feel the goodbye. I could feel the freedom. I could feel, whoa, like what could I do? What could I impact? how much challenges would not have to be here anymore because I don't keep trying to live within that small area. Like, you can see how that would affect health to have an old software program in your body and keep owning that that's you and keep working on fixing it while being it. You can just see the whole thing. And it felt like a lot of the meditation I've done has led to so many revelations, but boy, was it building to a big one. And today, I really feel the big one. This is the truth. And I could feel, I can just tell you the next couple weeks, I know there's going to be a lot of tears, a lot of thank you, a lot of so much more. And I can almost feel, and that's fine. I can almost feel that sounds crazy or whatever else it'll be called. And it's fine. But you don't have to own your limitations as your truth too, because you also are so much more than the patterns that you learned from your parents. You're so much more than their childhoods, which might have been in the 40s or 50s or 60s. You're so much more than that. And I'm just saying you are too. And we are able to free ourselves from the lie that we have continually grabbed onto. You don't have to keep this lie. I can just feel that's not the truth, that you are those constructs. And even though we've done pattern work and healed those things, we still unconsciously, in a way, made moves that kept us there. It'd be like getting over third grade and then going back into third grade again, over and over and over again. And this is the most exciting next step in my life. And I am committed to this construct, and I'm committed to doing the things that me as God's kid would do over the things that the pattern old story of Kyle would do, the habits, the little, please see me, the neediness, the little addictive things that we all do. Those are the pattern. All the fear is the old story. All the fear is you're the parent's kid, right? But you're an infinite magical being. And I weirdly this morning was going to put out a video. In fact, my teammate Tyler had edited it, and I was about to put it out, and I noticed it had a limitation to it. And Tyler had worked so hard on it, and I just was meditating this morning, goes, don't put it out. And I didn't know why. Usually when it was a Sunday morning, usually we put out videos. That's a good time slot for me. And I was just like, well, what will we put out? And I heard this higher thing go, I'm about to take you farther today. And it said, show me that you trust that you're not just going to put out a video to put out a video. It said, show me that you trust me and don't put it out. And I apologized to Tyler for working so much, and he was nothing but wonderful. And I just heard this higher thing. It goes, show me that it's not just putting out content to put out content. I want to take you somewhere different. And I didn't put it out, and I had nothing there. And then I meditated, and it goes, now. And it started this concept. And I can feel that I'm barely scratching the surface on this concept. It started today, but I can feel that through my commitment and my devotion to God, that I will be working directly on a new level with God. And that's available for you too, for you to directly work with God, for you to directly work in a way that you don't know. So I'm dedicating myself to this. This is the most important thing on the planet to me. It will affect how I parent, how I'm a friend, how I partner, how I run a business, how I'm a CEO, how I work with my team, how I work with the world, how I contribute, what I'm capable of, how much stronger I could get, healthier, how much more. There's so much more in this concept because I'm not a software. The energy that upgrades computers, that's what I am, not the software. I'm the constant upgrading, and so are you. And you don't have to be the old software. Even if you keep upgrading and updating that software, it's still in a way Windows 95 every time we say, well, I'm like this because my mom said this, or it's because my dad wasn't there that I'm like this. Instead of us just working on the patterns and still staying the victims to those patterns, we got to work on the patterns, but then leave them and watch as, because you went to a higher grade, it purges the old grade. That's the new world. That's the new world. That's the actual new world, right? It does not have to be within the small construct. It's trying to birth a new world through you. And it's up to you to choose the expansive magic that you are and free yourself. Free yourself, because when you keep dying to be the small story, you're putting yourself in your own prison every day. Every time you say yes when you mean no, and vice versa, every time you choose an addictive pattern, every time you do that, that is you imprisoning yourself over and over and over again. And then we're like, why is the world so difficult? It's like, because it's the mirror of how you've been treating yourself. And today could be the day that you join me in being God's kid, because you're so much more. You just came through those parents, and then we're stuck with them for 20 years, right? And so you have this whole wiring that's you. It's not you. I mean, if they were more drunk or more there for you, you'd be different. So it's about what they were and their patterns and their thing. So you don't have to be what you were because of how they were. You're so infinite. And join me in the connection to source, the connection to God, the connection to the infinite. I am so dedicated to this. While I was meditating on the Absolutely Everything Pass with my audience this morning, it called to me not only that revelation, but during the meditation, because this is what a meditation does, it goes, I'm going to have a 3-day live streamed event that will be free for the Absolutely Everything Pass. It'll be a live streaming event. It's going to be a big deal. It'll be November 3rd at night, and then November 4th and 5th all day. And it's going to be free for people on the Absolutely Everything Pass. We're going to have expenses. So also, if you're not on the Absolutely Everything Pass and you want to come, you can. An early bird price will be $99. But if you want to join me for what I know will be the next level of my life and the most profound event I've ever done so far, join me for the event called God's Kid. Work with me on this event, because we are going to look at the patterns. We're going to learn how to make new decisions. We're going to connect to source in an entirely different way. And we're going to identify all these fears are illusions, and we're going to learn how to see through them through different guided meditations, and then also just separate meditations. We're going to journal out different things, and then we're going to make a plan after that to make sure that the entire direction of your life changes after those 3 days. It'll be something that will help you save so much money, because the addictions that we have to pay for, that's all money that we end up spending because we think we're the old pattern. That pattern has those addictions. That pattern has those fears. That pattern has those I'm not enough. Those are all patterns. That stuff like I'm not enough, I'm not worthy, all of that crap, that comes from the old program. In fact, some of those programs aren't worthy anymore. Some of the Windows 95 isn't worthy anymore. It's not needed anymore. And maybe by being God's kid, it can purge the programs that you're not. Maybe if we're feeling depressed or lost, or we don't want to be here anymore, or any of that, that's the patterns. That's the programs talking. That's not you. So we're going to work together, and I'm making it unreal affordable to be able to do this. And we're going to work together and do something that we will not be able to come back from. We will go to the other side of something, and we will see something with evidence inside of yourself that you can't unsee. This is a big deal. I am finding more and more miracles as I'm doing this work. The farther I meditate, the more problems I avoid, the more the more better decisions I make, the more expansion that happens, the more creative I get, the more I'm not caught in the comings and goings of the world, the more I'm able to bring something new, the healthier I get, the better choices I make, the fitter I get, the higher callings. Everything's changing from this. And I believe in it with all my heart. So if you want to do something completely different in your life, and you want to find, instead of finding a bunch of skills and ways to do things while staying the old pattern, join me in the discovery of what you are and hear what God has for you. Hear what the higher you has for you. Hear what it has for you, not what someone else just says, just do this and write it this way and put out your book and market it this way. And these are just things that person did in a totally different time. Instead, find out what you are and be open to the idea that you don't know, but then love that and open with me to an infinite new world. God's kid. This is going to be something so profound. November 3rd, 4th, 5th, 2023. Join me live streamed online. You can get it for free on the Absolutely Everything Pass, or you can join us even if you're not on it. It's going to be amazing. God's kid. Let's do this.